Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. On this Wisdom Wednesday, we're going to discuss the proverb, the poor man and the rich man do not play together. When you think of this proverb, your first thought is like, well, that seems superficial. Why wouldn't a poor man and a rich man play together? But when you think about most wisdom sayings and proverbs and like different messages, it's a little deeper than that. We start off on just the level where like, hey, why wouldn't any two people play together? It shouldn't really matter how much money you have or your skin color, things like that. It should be like the content of your character. And I think that's a fair statement. But is it fair to say that there is something that we would have accomplished on the path to being rich that maybe someone is lacking on the path to poverty? You guys have often heard me say it's not as much about the money as it is who did I have to become to accomplish that goal? Who do I need to be a successful business person? Who do I need to be financially free? Because the decisions that we've made to this point, they have created the life that we have. So that means that on some level, who we are is the results that we have. And I think that's a fair statement. So who we dream to be, the life that we seek to build, who would we need to be that? And that's what I think this proverb is really talking about. Most entrepreneurs and families, they worry about money. So we created the Wisdometric framework to help you eradicate financial stress, generate a passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. When you think of just anything as simple as how do you spend your time each day? If you write how you spend your time, I can tell you something about you. I can tell whether you find family really important based on how you spend your time each day. I can tell whether you find maybe what other people think about you important based on how you spend your money and your time each day. I can find the causes that you believe in, things that you want to support and that are important to you based on how you spend your time each day. How does someone who is wealthy or rich spend their time each day? And how does someone who is poor spend their time? You often find in many books where they discuss what it is that helps someone to become rich, a millionaire mindset or a financial freedom mindset, whichever one kind of speaks to you the most, because everybody's not trying to be a millionaire, but realistically, it's getting closer and closer just with inflation that's going to be the number that most of us need to hit to be financially free. But we can just stick with financial freedom none the same. So when you're saying, okay, what is it that someone will do that's wealthy that maybe someone who is poor won't do? And you'll find that someone who is poor, let's say they won't invest any of their money because they're afraid of the stock market, they don't understand it, they don't trust business because of the risk and the issues with that. There is uncertainty. And a lot of the decisions, uncertainty is what they're looking for. Well, someone who is wealthy is usually not looking for certainty in the same way. They understand that if there's a system and a process, then that means that I can replicate whatever system has worked in the past for someone else. I just simply have to learn how to do it myself, or I have to find someone who knows how to do it and I hire them. That's what someone who is wealthy will understand. Someone who is poor, they would say, I don't have enough money to be able to invest in my freedom. I can only keep the lights on. While someone who is wealthy will find different avenues, whether that is a side hustle for a few years, or whether that is living on half of your income, just whatever you have to do. Someone who is rich has already understood that if I can't get my money to work for me, then I will always have to work for it. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of how. You have to figure out a way to be able to have your money work for you. So when you look at it from that perspective, then we can say, okay, if there are certain differences in the way that a rich person and a poor person sees the world, well, which kind of differences maybe would be a deal breaker, something that just wouldn't make sense? And that could be how we spend our leisurely time. So if you're someone who spends a considerable amount of time like watching TV and just like not taking any value, not learning and absorbing and growing and expanding your mind, well, then you're not going to find yourself at the same place as a rich person. A rich person maybe is reading books or has an audio subscription. They may spend time and spend money on a coach and a mentor where they go to networking meetings and they meet people and they grow and expand. It's so how could you hang out with someone if you do not share that same type of mindset, that same type of beliefs and understandings. If you are someone who likes to sleep in versus someone who wakes up early, well, if someone wakes up at 5 in the morning and they start their day, then they're going to always be ahead of someone who wakes up at maybe 10 or 11 a.m. and then starts their day, even if they have the same day, where they both go to the gym, but one's at the gym before 6 and one's at the gym after 8, where they both spend time in the same different places, but someone is already 4 hours into their day while the other person is just starting their day. So they don't really get to spend a lot of time together. You can start seeing that if there is this difference between a rich person and a poor person, it's not really as much about the money, because that's just the ultimate result of our beliefs and our mindset. If your mindset is different, if you have different beliefs and how you should spend your time each day, then when would you be around each other to be able to play? Because you're going to find that someone who is maximizing how they spend their time each day, they are not going to be wasting their time doing the same things that someone who is not maximizing their time each day. If you have any additional questions about retirement planning, I invite you to check out my free retirement planning that works video training at obsidianwisdom.com/training. In it, I give you the entire Wisdometric framework that I use with my clients to help them eradicate financial stress, generate a passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. And now I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, Dre, of course, that doesn't inherently have to be someone who is poor versus someone who is rich. And I would say that that's fair. It's not one of those things where you probably could find an exception, but where I would say someone who may be poor but has a mindset shift and they're on the path. So I would say if you find that person in 2 years, you'll find that they have grown significantly, both mentally and financially, because they've already started the path. If you find that person in 5 or 10 years, you'll find that they may be completely out of debt and halfway on their journey of financial freedom. So I'm not saying that the results automatically match the mindset, because there is this time frame that it takes for the results to show for the decisions that we've made. And so the opposite could also be true. You could find someone who is rich and wealthy, but their mindset isn't where it needs to be. And so if you find them in 5 years, they could find themselves broke, because you could see that they are just not having the way that they spend their time each day, the way that they understand things and interact with the world and their beliefs, that they're not going to be able to sustain the wealth that they've created or was given to them or they inherited. However they got it, you could tell that they don't have the mindset to achieve and maintain it. So it doesn't automatically mean the result where if you see someone poor, if you see someone rich, someone could be rich on the way to poverty, someone could be poor on their way to rich. You're just looking at how would we spend our time each day. The way that I hear it, and it's often pretty interesting, is just think of anyone that you find really successful. And the truth is they have the same 24 hours in their day as the rest of us. And yet someone is going to be spending their 24 hours doing things that are counterproductive, where it's self-sabotage and it's holding them back. And someone else is going to be spending their 24 hours in their day growing and expanding and learning and finding ways to better themselves and their surroundings. So that's when I think of this proverb. That is how I take it up. But if you take it a little differently, go ahead and put that in the comments below. Share with me how you see the proverb, whether you completely disagree with it and how I came up with my conclusion, or whether you can see and I've converted you a little bit and you're like, okay, Dre, I think I can see at least what you're talking about, and I don't think you're being as offensive as I originally thought you were. But either way, just share your thoughts in the comments and let me know. I often have a conversation with my oldest daughter when we talk about high school, and I'll tell her, look, there are some things that you're going to find out as you get older, and one of those things is that all these people that I hang out with in high school, we don't actually have as much in common as I thought we did. And what I mean is you're going to find that you just had the fact that you went to the same high school in common. And as a result, as you move on in your life, you will not be talking to them anymore. And it doesn't mean that you didn't enjoy the time that you guys had together in high school. It just means that you no longer have the only thing that you had in common. And you will have new friends and new relationships with people who are aspiring to do the same things that you're doing. And then some of those people are going to come and go in your life as you move and grow and change as well. The same would be no different than someone who's maybe single versus their friends get married and start having kids. You're going to hang out in different places. And the same would be true of if someone is married versus someone who's divorced, if someone who works for a Fortune 500 company and someone who has their own business, someone who went to college, or someone who right out of high school started a job and never went to college. You will find that there are things that you have in common with people along the way, and these things will draw you to them. And as these things change, oftentimes your relationship changes as well. And so you'll have people that you knew at different parts of your life where you guys spent a lot of time together. And then when things change, whether you moved or you had a new job or whether the relationship ended or whatever it was that you guys had in common, you no longer have in common, it ends up changing that relationship. And a lot of time you guys no longer communicate. And again, it doesn't mean that we didn't like each other or that we didn't have fun. It just means that what we had in common doesn't exist anymore. And I found out that that was basically what our relationship was built on. And so this proverb is just a reflection of that there's going to be things relationships are built on with a rich person and things that a relationship would be built on with a poor person. And these things could keep and most likely will keep them apart from each other, just in all of the aspects of life that we've talked about. So you have to decide for yourself, who do you want to be? Who are the people that you are attracting to yourself, and what is it that you're trying to accomplish, and who you have to be to accomplish those dreams. Until next time, Wisdomites, remember, wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answers. Keep asking those questions, and you will keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.